Hello and welcome to the CSN3M Mindset Monday podcast. I'm Andrew Wade with Case Specific Nutrition. On this channel, we focus on the 3 M's: mindsets, myth busting, and mentoring, all as they pertain to health and nutrition. On today's episode, we have a very special episode. We have a guest with us today. Welcome, Shannon Raymond.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
You are welcome. We're glad to have you. And Shannon is one of the team leaders on the Case Specific Nutrition team. Shannon is the lead dietitian at our East Liberty office. She kicks butt and takes names for a living. She's been working with the Case Specific team for a couple of years now, and I'm really excited to have her on so we can talk about some of her secrets and her tactics that she uses to help people change their lives, as well as some of the exciting things she's working on to allow herself to become an even better practitioner. If we didn't think that was possible, it apparently is. So thanks again for being on, Shannon.
Yeah, thank you.
So for all those of you who are not familiar with Case Specific as a whole, we are a dietitian practice in Pittsburgh. We have 6 locations, and we have 12 dietitians across those locations. And like I said, Shannon is one of the lead dietitians. So she runs the East Liberty office. That is her main location. Through COVID, she has been doing a lot of virtual consulting. She's still doing quite a bit of it, but she is back in the office seeing people as well. And so overall, her role is to see and help as many people as she can. But I'm going to let her tell you a little bit more about that. Before we dig into the client types and some of her favorite tactics and strategies, I want to make sure she gets a chance to give us a little bit of background. So Shannon, why don't you give us let's start with your school background.
Yeah, great. So I went to Seton University, which is a private school in Greensburg, Pennsylvania. I actually did a coordinated undergrad program, which I don't believe exists any longer. So basically what happened was I completed my undergraduate degree in nutrition and dietetics, and I completed the 1,200 hours of required supervised practice within my junior and senior year of my undergrad. So then when I graduated college, I was actually eligible to sit for the RD exam. It was very, very quick paced, got a lot done in a short amount of time. And I actually became a registered dietitian that summer following my undergraduate program.
Awesome. And yeah, like you said, in the world of dietetics, we have an undergraduate degree. We have to do what we call a dietetic internship, which is kind of like a residency, which is that 1,200 hours plus 600 hours of like didactic learning. So it ends up being 1,800 hours of supervised practice, and then we sit for our RD exam. Now those programs are fading and being replaced by coordinated masters because the master's degrees are starting to be required. But then as dietitians, we have lots of continuing education and all that good stuff, which we're going to get to dig into here. So before we dig into your sort of, work pre-Case Specific, tell us a little bit about your RD path. What led you to dietetics, to Seton Hill, to study nutrition?
So I grew up an athlete. I played basketball, I did track and field, and I really thought that athletics was the area of nutrition that I wanted to pursue, all because a dietitian in the Pittsburgh area, her name is a big name, Leslie Bonsi, came and actually spoke to my high school track and field team.
Shout out to Leslie. We know
I was in 10th grade, not really knowing what I wanted to do with my life, and I just was captivated by everything she said. And so I was introduced to nutrition in a sports realm, and I was hooked, from the start. And I thought, that's what I wanted to pursue. So then, leading into my work experience, I actually got a job just, right out of college at Adagio, which is actually where you did your internship, Andrew.
Yes, it is.
So I was working for Adagio as a Power Up coordinator, which is a program, teaching nutrition in schools around Pittsburgh, basically. But I really, what my heart wanted was I really wanted to pursue, sports nutrition. So I took a position at the University of Illinois, and very quickly realized that is not the path that I really wanted to take.
That's sometimes how we learn, right?
Yeah, so I just, for me, I love love athletics. You know, I played basketball my freshman year of college, and I did track and field all 4 years of college. But as an actual registered dietitian practicing, me personally, I find it more rewarding to help people for other reasons. But I'm really glad people like you exist who can help the athletes.
The athletes, exactly. And that's what's really exciting about our team, and that's what I've loved as Case Specific has evolved, is all of us have the background and the expertise that we can help lots of people, but we are all kind of finding our niche, our areas of expertise, and the people that we sort of connect with the best and, you know, have the most passion for, and it allows us really to help anybody that knocks on our door looking to improve their lifestyle. So like you said, so you obviously the sports nutrition realm was the start.
So that was the start, and then I took that job, quickly realized it wasn't for me. So to be true to myself, I knew I wanted to, one, be back in Pittsburgh, and two, be working more in the medical side of things, but still like outpatient. So I took a job at UPMC in Pittsburgh, and I worked there for several years, and and then I met you, and
I remember the day.
and I found my home here at Case Specific Nutrition. So the rest is history.
And here we are ever since. So like I said, she's been with Case Specific now. I guess it's been 2 years full time, and then about 8 or 9 months contracting.
Yeah,
before that. It's almost
that.
3 years, right?
Yep.
So that's very exciting. And she is at the East Liberty office, which is the one that I tend to pop in and out of. So she's probably the team member that I see the most. Though during COVID, we didn't get to see each other. This is our first reunion in quite some time. So why don't you tell people a little bit about the client types that you've been seeing here at Case Specific over these last couple of years? What are kind of your main audiences, and who have you been helping the most?
Yeah, I definitely get a large variety of clients, but I'd say the main themes when it comes to my clientele are, the population of people who are, well, everyone's busy, but specifically, the busy people that just don't slow down, don't take time for themselves, don't truly know what self-care is. Sometimes they're looking for a quick fix, but they really didn't know all along what they were looking for was true, like, habit change. I get a population of people with digestive issues. I used to be afraid of digestive clients because it is truly a very gray area when it comes to nutrition. But the world is a funny place, and a turn of events. Now I actually like digestive clients.
And she's really good at it as a side note.
It's an area of nutrition where you can get fairly immediate, not always, but fairly immediate relief, not complete symptom resolution, but it's really nice to be able to help people to feel much better than they thought they could ever feel. And they're not judging themselves by their appearance or their bodies. They're truly, I think why I like it so much is because people are actually judging their progress based on the way they feel. And that's really refreshing, in the world of nutrition to actually have clients who are, measuring progress based on how they feel. So yeah. That's nice.
That ability to have people focus on the right why, looking inward and
Correct.
Focusing on inward health as opposed to that external, that can be quite distracting in this modern world we live in.
Yeah. Another population that I get are men and women actually who have just been dieting almost their whole lives and don't know anything else. Some people coming off of actual programs, they've been logging and tracking for 10 plus years, and their mindsets are truly, I need to make changes, I need to change my body, I need to change my weight in order to, have value or have purpose or make progress, and they've never truly trained their brains to find any sort of progress in any other way. So, talking about maintenance is a very nice thing for some people coming off of ages and ages of, just constant dieting and realizing it's okay to just be. Sometimes you don't need to lose more weight. You can actually just, live your life now. Yeah. But no one ever teaches people that, when you start in, a pretty harsh program or
that what now syndrome.
Yeah, what now? You know, you've had a one way of thinking for a long time, and it's hard to just accept a new way of thinking. So I get a lot of people who have a long history of dieting, and actually pretty recently I've started to get more eating disorder clients. So I'll talk a little bit more about that.
I was going to say, so obviously, case-specific nutrition, we always say that we see a lot of client types, and you can hear that, right? Your digestive clientele, you have a transitional clientele, you have a health-focused clientele, you have people that are trying to change their lives in a variety of ways, and you become that health assistant that's allowing them to have fresh perspectives and better understand themselves and look inward and feel their changes, and really move that health metric. So it's obviously always great to hear the variety, and you've for those of you listening, you've heard quite a few of our dietitians get interviewed, and that's something that we all share, is that while we do have our specialties that we are really kind of niche at, we all see a variety of clients, and we do like the variety. It's really good to get to help people on their journeys, and be that support. So amongst this clientele that you're seeing, you're helping lots of different people on a weekly and monthly basis. Obviously, you've got to have some good life hacks or tips or observations, not that are these niche, crazy, templated things, but instead are observations that could be a really useful thing for people to hear. So do you have any off the top of your head that you feel would be a good one that someone listening might hear and might maybe give them a new perspective or something they could use this week to think differently?
Yeah, I have a couple of favorite things that I talk about. Movement is actually something that I talk about, and I have talked about, since day one of me becoming a dietitian. I've just always had this, I prepare my clients. I'm like, okay, I'm going to spend 5 to 10 minutes giving you my movement spiel, whether you like it or not. But exercise or activity, I have actually always called it movement. And it's truly just because it's, movement of our bodies, and it really shouldn't be forced. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are days that we just don't feel like moving, so it might feel forced sometimes, but maybe those are days we should rest. But I talk about the history of really the human race. It sounds so cheesy because we've lived our lives with technology, but our grandparents and great-grandparents and great-great-great-grandparents, they just moved more because they had to, like just to survive, just to pay, just to take care of their families and their homes, and get from place to place, obtain food. Just everything required more movement than it does today. And really, truly, in the grand scheme of time, it's like a snap of the fingers, and all of a sudden humans don't have to move more, and we can pay the bills, and we can take care of our families, and we can get an education, all without getting very much movement. So I truly don't believe that humans were made to crave a workout.
Yeah.
Some people do, but I think that that's a fresh perspective. Like, we need to move our bodies. Like, my grandmother didn't have to carve out 60 minutes to go to spin class. Like, she just moved all day. So I like to talk about movement in a way that, how can it be a part of our life that is, something that we enjoy, something that we look forward to, something that helps relieve stress, something that rejuvenates our souls, and how can it not be so, diet culture-y, I guess, for lack of a better word? How can we still move our bodies, maybe even do the same exact thing? Like, I've had people go to the same exact class at the same exact gym, but they're doing it for a whole new reason and a whole new perspective, and all of a sudden they can't wait to go, versus dragging their feet on their way there. So
exactly, the why behind it can change.
The why.
You made me think of a quote, and I don't remember off the top of my head who said it. I'm going to paraphrase it, but it was something to the extent of, the most detrimental change in human nature over the last 100 years has been that we used to move everywhere, and now we move in one place, and we used to eat in one place, and now we eat everywhere.
Oh my gosh,
and it's
I love
that observation, right, that we used to just move. That's what we did, and now we have to join a gym and go to this one place, or at least we tell ourselves that story. And we used to sit at home and eat our meals with our family, and now we're grabbing this, that, and every other thing everywhere
Yeah.
else. And that flip has been reminiscent and has led to a lot of the struggles that we see on a daily basis as dietitians.
Yeah, that's a really good quote. I'm gonna write that down.
We'll have to find who
We'll
actually
have to find
quoted it.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I love that. It's a movement, and again, it's neat because you even broke it down. There's exercise, which is what I like to call the huff and puff, right? It's the thing that gets you breathing heavy, and then there's the activity, which is just being active, moving, and that can be walking, that can be leisurely things, but it's just the time you spend out of a chair, out of a couch, out of a bed, utilizing your muscles, using your skeleton, and then also why you're doing it, right? Whether it's to escape the stress that the screen is throwing your way, or whether it's to clear the noise that's surrounding your ears. It's a great way to mentally and physically escape and allow the body to find a base. So no, I love that. That's a great reminder.
I also have people just think of themselves as like 70 and 80-year-olds. We need to be moving our whole lives, but I sure hope people aren't trying to look in the mirror at 80 years old and be like, I gotta shed a couple pounds, go for a walk. Yep. It's an exhausting life to live. So I just always encourage, the why behind movement and, truly developing a better relationship with movement.
That's well said. I love that. That's a great tip and a great reminder, and I feel the exact same way, surprisingly, right? No, not surprisingly at all. It's we tend to align. Any other big ones? That's an awesome one. Do you have one more?
Yeah, I have one more. This one might not take as long, but this is actually more recent, and I've been saying it a lot more. So there's a spectrum of out of control versus over control. A spectrum of over rigidity versus lack of focus. So lack of focus versus over focus, which is more like rigid. And so we get a lot of, not just me, all of us, we get a lot of clients who have been in a place where they have felt out of control. They have been in a place where they have felt like they have lack of focus, like the whole all or nothing, or I'm on the wagon or I'm off the wagon, or that whole thing. I think we've all heard a million times. But then I get a lot of people who have been there, and now they're in the completely opposite place. Like even before they've come to me, they're over focused, they're over rigid, they're hyper, focused and hyper in control. And that's truly no way to live either. That's robotic, that's mechanical. That's not where life happens. Life happens in the middle. You can be focused without being over focused. You can have control without having over control or hyper control. And it's hard to convince people of that sometimes because all they know is, well, if I'm not hyper focused, then I must be having no focus, or if I'm not totally in control, I must be out of control. So I've been talking to people more about you can live in between, and that's actually where life happens. I've always shown people like two roads, and your goals are one road, and your life and your social life and your interests and your hobbies and your habits, or not habits, but everything else is the parallel road. They have to be parallel, and you have to kind of move the markers at the same time. You can't be all the way at your goals and have very, very little life and excitement and spontaneity and everything. So that's my other little tidbit that I feel like I throw in most of my consults.
I like that, finding where you are on that spectrum of control, and maybe more importantly, opening your mind to the concept that there might be a gray area. And it might not be this or that, but instead might be a spectrum. I love that. I talk to people a lot about the game of tug of war that is life, right? Which is whatever your ambitions or aspirations are, there's things that tug you one way and things that tug you the other. And sometimes the goal is to have a continuous game of tug of war that's not in fact a bad thing. It is to allow things to coexist. Is to allow that middle ground to exist. And so that, what you said well that I really like too is that observation that both sides of that spectrum have consequences. Feeling a life that is completely out of control and has no awareness and no intention that can be exhausting, that can be dangerous, there can be a lot of negative. But on the other side, being overly rigid, being so preoccupied by certain focuses that the blinders are on and you can only see the thing right in front of you and nothing around you, you're going to go through life missing out on 90% of the things that matter. And so it is, you start to realize, wait a second, so if I don't care at all, it's not great. And if I care way too much, is also not great. So what can I do to care about a lot of things, and then also realize that in caring there has to be some calm to it.
Yeah, there has to be some calm, and truly the word peace, some peace with that. Just a quick example, I had a client who, came to me at a very, very rigid point, and she told me just this quick little story about, she showed up to work on her birthday, and there were cupcakes on her desk with a little card that said happy birthday and like a takeout menu. She was going to get lunch ordered for her. And her first thought was, why would they do this to me?
Yeah.
And she was in a very, very rigid, over-focused place.
Where she couldn't even see something that was meant to be this
it was supposed
gesture.
to be joyful and happy, and
completely missed it because it was a problem. Yeah,
so when you live in the middle, and you can have focus but not hyper-focus, you just kind of get to enjoy life more.
Yeah. It's sometimes the exceptions to our norm, right? A lot of us seek routine and normalcy because routine and normalcy gives us predictable patterns towards our goals. It gives us, as humans, it gives us a reduction in anxiety because we tend to fear uncertainty. But at the same time, those exceptions are what life is made of.
Yeah, it is.
And so it's not a bad thing to have a baseline. It's not a bad thing to have a general routine or at least a mental guide so that you can be automated and you can focus on all the chaos that is the world. There's so many things to pay attention to that we rely on routines so that we can navigate it all. But if we only live in our routine, we miss out on that vitality that is life. I love that, and that's that's such an important thing to think about, and that's why one of the things that we talk about at Case Specific, our vision, and sort of our main mission is to help each person on their health journey. And I feel like a lot of the time, that's exactly what we have to do. Is a spectrum like this, we have to sit down with a person and see where are they on the spectrum, where would they benefit from being on the spectrum, and what can we do to help find that balance that is work and life and fun and pleasure and joy and structure and ambition.
Definitely. Yeah, and there truly are people coming to us from every part of that spectrum.
Yeah, polar opposite sides all the way through the middle. I agree, and I think that's why I love what we do so much here. To be honest, is I enjoy sitting down with someone and saying, okay, I'm here for you. I'm not here to tell you my template pitch. I'm here for you, and that's exactly what I know you enjoy as well. So
I always tell people I have no idea what your plan is going to be until we start talking. I have no idea what our goals are going to be until I get to know you.
Exactly. I love that. So lots of good content there. Hopefully some good content for all of you listening that you can put to work and use as your reflection. Where do you fall on that spectrum of flexibility and rigidity? And is that setting you free? Is that holding you back? Is that distracting you? And what are some things you can do going forward to improve? What I want to do, we've done some good background on you, Shannon. We've talked about sort of your current ways that you're helping the world be a better, happier place. But I know, and that you've been up to some really cool stuff lately.
Yes.
And so I want to learn a little bit more, hear a little bit more about what you have coming up in the world of your professional development and your education. You and I have worked through a program together. You're a little farther along in it than I am. But I wanted to give you a chance to chat about what you've been learning and then also share some exciting news about what that learning has led to you finally kicking down the door on.
Yes. So Andrew and I have actually been working through an ACT, continuing education series sort of thing. So ACT stands for Acceptance and Commitment Therapy, and it's specifically, what we've been studying is specifically for dietitians. So a lot of therapists, are experienced in ACT, but not many dietitians have a whole lot of experience. And anyway, ACT is an evidence-based model which supports us to understand and actually be with all of our human experiences, including the painful and difficult ones, while supporting us to direct time and energy and resources towards things that truly matter to us. So I read that because there's a lot. But to break that down, the point is that we are not ignoring, we are not pushing aside, we are not numbing ourselves to a lot of our human experiences and our human thoughts and our emotions. We're actually learning how to acknowledge them and to live with them. And each time we do that, we gain more and more strength. And they might be there, but we are a stronger person. It doesn't affect us quite as much. It doesn't irritate us quite as much. It doesn't tug at us, on the inside quite as much. And through that, you end up actually living a more meaningful life. ACT, is really, one of the goals is to really put more meaning into your life. And that psychological flexibility that I was kind of just talking about, that spectrum, is the core of ACT. And being present, there's some components of psychological flexibility. Being present is one of them. Really actually having people discover what their values actually are. Commitment, taking action to pursue the important things in their lives. Seeing yourself as unchanged by time and experience. Observing the thoughts without actually being ruled by them. A lot of us,
That's one of my favorite ones, actually.
Yeah.
I love the example in this training where they talk about how the mind can have this, our minds, because we are very fear driven, we tend to have these very negative thoughts that plague all of our brains.
Yeah.
And it's okay to hear those. And what they give an example of is, she hears the thought and she says, "Thank you for the consideration, brain. That's not useful to me right now, but I appreciate the heads up." And then she subconsciously chooses to pass it aside, or set it aside, essentially.
Yeah.
I that one was probably the one that stuck out to me the most, was not learning to ignore the thoughts or train the brain to not have them, but instead allowing yourself to hear them, not overreact to them, and then process them or pass them along.
Yeah, and it's easier said than done, but actually being able to guide people through this process is something that I really want to be able to do. I have a lot of clients who and myself included, I feel like we all have a voice in our heads at some point that for example, if you ever hear the voice you need to try harder, or you need to be doing more, or you're not, a lot of people who want to lose weight, you're not losing weight quick enough, that thought is not actually helpful. Yeah. And some people confuse that thought with motivation.
Yeah, and it's not motivation.
Different.
It's actually a regressive thought, and it's really the counter to what they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, and it's just a tiny little twinge of negativity, and it builds and builds and builds, and then we can actually perceive those things as truth. Some of those thoughts, we believe them to be true, and they're not. Our minds can play tricks on us.
And they distract us from the ultimate goal, and you said it well. I mean, even in a weight loss kind of clientele, right? The goal, the symbolism of weight loss for most people is basically finding their health or making an improvement, compared to the now. And when we start to then micromanage metrics that don't actually tell us the whole story, we completely get distracted from why we started out on the journey in the first place, which is why you see so many people go from this motivated desire to improve themselves to feeling defeated and upset and negative, and develop this negative self-talk. And it doesn't come from an inability to accomplish. It comes from a distraction.
Yeah, a distraction, truly a distraction. So it's really helpful to observe it as just a thought or just an emotion, and not be ruled by them. It's called diffusion. And then the last component is ultimately acceptance. You're actually willing to experience difficult thoughts, and that you'll get through them and not be ruled by them. So yeah, Andrew and I are working on this little ACT training together. I'm excited to put it into practice at some point.
Yeah, another tool in our toolbox. That's one of the things we talk about here, is we specialize in trying to understand all tools with an open mind, and then help individuals utilize them when there's value to it, so that we can best help everybody navigate their reality. And so obviously this ACT therapy training that you've been going through and that I've been kind of working my way through as well, and has led to some great discussions through our team and through our readings. Our most recent book, Wired to Connect, it has some inspirations and connections to this ACT therapy. But this has all led to a bigger picture, something that you've been contemplating for quite some time. And
almost a year now.
Yeah, and so I think from we can use this podcast as a chance to scream it from the rooftop and make it real.
Big announcement. So I decided I'm officially going to, and I'm actually already started, get my master's in clinical mental health therapy. So counseling. So I am taking the path to eventually become an LPC, become eligible to become an LPC, which is a licensed professional counselor. So I will truly put more meaning to the title nutrition counseling. The program officially starts in August, but I've started to take some electives, and it's about 2.5 years. It's through some of it's online, some of it's going to eventually be in person, but it's called CCU, Colorado Christian University, and it's an accredited program, and I'm just thrilled to have come to this decision, and I have never been so excited about where my career is headed.
I love that. And I'm so proud of you, because that's, like you said, you've been thinking about this for a year, and you and I have had a lot of conversations about it, and obviously as your colleague, but also your mentor in some ways, I've really tried to support and encourage and help you find your voice as well as find your path. And over these last couple of years within the company, your role in your reputation as being that dietitian that's in your client's corner, that's supporting them, that's developing them. This is going to be that next piece that's going to really allow you to take your services to even a higher level, which, like I said in the beginning of this, we didn't know if it was possible, but it in fact is. And obviously the case-specific family is extremely proud to have you on our team, because that is who we are, right? We are all perpetual academics trying to do everything we can to help people navigate and improve their lives. And you taking this bold step improves you professionally, and is going to allow you to help so many people over your long and exciting career to come. So,
so excited.
Good luck on the route.
Thank
Obviously, obviously I'm going to be along with you, and I'll be excited to learn and grow alongside you. But there you have it, folks. This is Shannon Raymond. She is the lead dietitian at East Liberty. She's been really doing wonderful things here, helping clientele and continuing to expand education and drive professional conversations amongst our group, so that here at Case Specific we can be the best of the best, here to help everybody on their journey. I'd like to thank you again for listening. If you would please subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, CSN3M. Share on your favorite social media, tagging a friend or a loved one that you think would benefit from this. Especially if you think they might want to meet Shannon, whether it's virtual or at our East Liberty office. And then don't forget to do your part and hashtag spread the health. That is the case-specific nutrition and the case-specific family. Hashtag spread the health. And for more about case-specific nutrition content, you can follow us on our social media at case-specific nutrition, and you can check out our website at casespecificnutrition.com. We will be back next week with another CSN3M Mindset Monday. Thanks again for listening, and be well.